16. Golden mean, perfect proportion. In 1996, I discovered hundreds of conch species in the marine products market by the seaside of Dar es Salaam, the capital of Tanzania. Those shells were incomparably and unimaginably beautiful. The spiraling structure of the whelk, in particular, dwarfs the best works of any architect. Is the brain of a shell creature more advanced than that of a man? Later, by observing the flower discs of sunflowers, I discovered that the arrays of seeds in the discs take spiral shapes, whether seen leftward or rightward, and that the seeds are not crowded upon each other no matter how many seeds there are in the discs. I figured the ancestors of sunflowers must have had a college education or have obtained doctoral degrees, otherwise, how could their offspring have ever thought of such a perfect sequence of arrangement? Then, by observing the arrangement of celestial bodies in the solar system, the size of the Earth, and the arrangement of human body and plants, the arrays of branches and leaves of growing plants, the arrays of different petals, the sizes of various insects and the arrangement of their trunks and legs, and the arrangement of 5 sense organs, 4 limbs, and torso of the human body, and so on, I discovered that everything in nature has a certain proportion, which is not controlled by an organism itself but predestined by heaven, namely, there is a mysterious power that controls the development direction of an individual organism. Take man, for example. Please open your hand. Why are there only 5 fingers on the palm? Why is the middle finger longer than the other 4 fingers? Why does the thumb not stand in line with the other 4 fingers? Why is the total length of the 3 knuckles of the little finger rightly the total length of 2 knuckles of the ring finger? Why does the thumb have only 2 condyles while all other 4 fingers have 3? What will happen if the little finger is longer than the middle finger is shorter than the index finger, or if the middle finger has 1 more knuckle and is 2 centimeters longer than the index finger and ring finger? We can raise thousands of trillions of questions. For example, why has the height of man remained at about 1.73 meters for thousands of years? Why are the eyes of mice so small and the eyes of horses so large? Why cannot grass grow up into towering trees? Why does the size of a man's penis match the depth and width of a woman's vagina? So on and so forth. As long as we examine a question thoroughly, we will have to admit that behind every phenomenon there is a mysterious power, or enigmatic law, governing everything. There is a harmonious proportion between everything, for example, the Milky Way, the solar system, Earth, the moon, humans, dogs, birds, trees, grass, insects, bacteria, and so on. Additionally, within each entity, there exists an unbreakable and precisely balanced harmony of proportions between their different parts. For example, the size of the human body and its proportions with eyes, head, mouth, arms, legs, 5 internal organs, and blood vessels. Exquisite proportions reflect the wisdom and quality of the greatest creator. That is to say, the various proportions are arranged by the greatest creator. The wisdom of the greatest creator is boundless, just like the circumference ratio pi, which is endless, enigmatic, and forever infinitely informative. With the discovery of pi, humans have realized the extensive and profound wisdom of the greatest creator and the endless mysteries of the material world. People cannot help but feel thrilled and enthralled by the wonder and profundity of Mother Nature, spellbound by the infinite future of life, and fascinated by the wonderful future. Human wisdom is also endless. People have discovered another secret, the imaginary number I, the square root of -1. Does -1 have a square root? The multiplication rule states that 2 positives make a positive, 2 negatives make a positive, and the square of any number is a positive number. Therefore, the square root of -1 does not exist at all. Now that the square root of -1 does not exist, why is the concept of an imaginary number introduced? When science entered the period of quantum mechanics, even Einstein became puzzled because he thought that the universe was orderly and that the future development and changes of anything were predictable as long as the current status was known. However, quantum mechanics put forward the theory that accurate measurement is impossible. The more accurately the position of a small particle is measured, the less accurately the measurement of its speed, and if the speed of a small particle is accurately measured, the measurement of its position will not be accurate. Is it so? What is the expression of the wave function of quantum mechanics? Without imaginary numbers, there would be no complex plane; without a complex plane, there would be no complex number, and without a complex number, the wave function could not be expressed. When we delve deeper into the microscopic world, we will see that the seemingly illusory imaginary number has actually reflected natural laws. The illusory thing, regarded as impossible by people, actually plays a critical role. Hence, we realize that instead of a question of existence or not, the illusory power of the greatest creator is actually a decisive factor that determines the development and change of everything. Therefore, we realize that in addition to real numbers, there are imaginary numbers and that there is a non-material world apart from the material world. Moreover, we understand that in addition to the flesh of life, there is a spiritual entity. We come to realize that time is not solely linear but also has a lateral dimension. In the material world, time appears to be linear, progressing from past to present to future. However, in the realm of the illusory, non-material world, time is lateral. When it comes to humans, the physical body experiences time in a linear manner, with a past, present, and future, and with birth and death. However, the spiritual essence of a person experiences time laterally, transcending the linear progression. The spirit is not confined to the physical body and can, at any given moment, depart from it and enter the lateral dimension of time. The positive and negative numbers of the material world can form a function. Such a function has 4 quadrants, areas. If we include imaginary numbers into the function, we will have a complex function. A complex function has 16 quadrants, areas. Please ask yourself, which quadrant is my life in at present? The main purpose of this section is to explore the proportions in nature. Of all the proportions, people have found a special proportion, the golden mean, another secret of nature after the circumference ratio pi and the imaginary number I. So what is the golden mean phi? Take the human body, for example. If the ratio of height to the length from the sole to the navel equals the ratio of the sole to the navel and from the navel to the top, then the proportion is the golden mean. What is the proportion? The ratio of the golden mean is 1.618033988749894848821. Let's look at another array of numbers, 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34, 55, 89, 144, 233, 377, 610. The above figures have a feature, that is, a number is just the sum of the previous 2 numbers. If each number of this array is divided by the number before it, we can derive the following numbers: 1, 2, 1.5, 1.666, 1.6, 1.625, 1.61538, 1.619, 1.6176, 1.61818, 1.61797, 1.61805, 1.61802, 1.61803, 1.61803, 1.61803. If we continue the process, the value tends to be 1.618033988749894848821. 1, 2, 1.5, 1.666, 1.6, 1.625, 1.61538, 1.619, 1.6176, 1.61818, 1.61797, 1.61805, 1.61802, 1.61803, 1.61803, 1.61803. What is the point of this value? It contains unlimited meanings. One of them is beauty. Why are the conchas mentioned earlier in this section incomparably beautiful? It is because they have developed according to the ratio of the golden mean. Why are flowers so pleasing to the eyes? Because they have grown according to the golden mean. Why don't the seeds of plants fight with each other? Because they are arranged according to the golden mean. Why do some people look so pretty? Because every part of their figures reflects the golden mean. Why can musical instruments play melodious tunes? Because the chords of the instruments and the melodies approximate the golden mean. Why do some architectures look so harmonious and comfortable? Because the layout of these buildings has been designed according to the golden mean. Will you think it is beautiful if a person has the neck of a giraffe, the eyes of a mouse, or arms longer than those of an ape? Will it be harmonious if an 80-meter building is built among the 8-meter houses or if a 5-meter bungalow is built among clusters of high buildings? People growing up in the countryside know that if all villagers live in low bungalows and someone builds a 3-story building on a whim, this person is sure to suffer bad luck. Why was America's World Trade Center blasted off? Seemingly, it was destroyed by terrorists, but actually, the destruction has something to do with its height. Similarly, if you live in a bungalow in an area surrounded by high buildings, you will feel depressed, and you and your children will have little chances of development. We often see judges give scores for contestants on television. The final score for Lifechanyuan is, after crossing out the highest point and the lowest score. Why should the highest and lowest scores be crossed out? It is because they are problematic, discordant, and extreme. Things always reverse themselves after reaching an extreme. Everything must develop within a certain proportion and must be agreeable with its surroundings. If the range of proportions is exceeded, it is no longer beautiful and harmonious. What is harmony? Appropriate proportion is harmony. What is beauty? Appropriate proportional array is beauty. The golden mean is the most harmonious and most beautiful of all proportions. The development of all things is constrained by proportion. For the United States to become a world power, it must assist impoverished countries without exerting excessive force, otherwise, it will inevitably face punishment from natural laws. A poor and backward country must strive to move forward, otherwise, it will inevitably perish. This is also the case with human beings. If the population has increased to such an extent that it has lost harmony with the number of plants and other animals, there will be no way to sustain the continuous growth, just like a rapidly growing branch of a tree. If the branch does not break off, it will pull down or even uproot the tree. Since there is a mysterious power or law of nature that governs the harmony of proportions, the exploding population will certainly be controlled. If humans can exercise control over themselves, all the better. If the population cannot be brought under control, then the power of nature will play its role. For example, wars, earthquakes, floods, fires, plagues, famines, and torridity can all play their part in reducing the population. Wasn't the outbreak of SARS in 2003 an alarm bell sounded by nature for mankind? Proportion is a mysterious power in nature that controls the development and changes of everything in the universe. Who but the greatest creator has formulated this proportion?